Alright, so this is Rush 2049, the third Rush game in the Rush series. And just want to say hello before I begin. I will try to commentate this run to the best of my ability. And obviously I'll practice more if the run gets accepted. So let's begin. I've muted the audio because I did this during a live stream, so I'm talking quite a bit. Here we're taking a quick shortcut to get ahead of the cars, because this is the first track in this beginner circuit, and you start in the last place before the race starts. Here I do a flip just for fun, kind of just add a little swag to the route. I plan on implementing a lot more, especially if this gets accepted. Just little swag things here and there. There's always a risk of messing it up, but I'm pretty consistent with my tricks. Here I didn't mention it, but I actually hit a switch there, which opened up the ability to take the shortcut. This is a shortcut on this first track here. In the Rush series, they're pretty much known for having a bunch of different alternate routes that you can take. And here I try to utilize the most optimal route in the game to achieve good lap times. So that was lap 1 there, and I didn't explain much on lap 1 because I was kind of doing a little introduction, but here on lap 2 I'll try to hit a few more pointers. So here we're going to be turning into the shortcut here. I've already hit the switch. The switch off to the right of me was green. That's because I'd hit it on the first lap, which opened up this area right here. And essentially what this is you know, the shortcut or alternate route on this track. One of many. There's generally multiple shortcuts and different routes that you can take. This here is probably the most optimal for this route. There's one other route that I could do, but it isn't as consistent. So for marathon's sake, I'm going to be doing this route. Here we go again into the secret area. That turn there is pretty sharp too. It requires some precise moving. If you'll notice, like before I go into the secret area, I actually move over to the far side of the turn that I'm going to be making so that I can cut the turn sharp and kind of poke myself in there. It's a racing technique that people use in different racer games and in real life as well. It's just a trick for sharper turning, sharp, precise turning. Here we're going to be hitting the switch here, which activates this ramp, and it'll allow us to take a alternate route. It's obviously not the standard route for this track. Here we're going to be doing a little off-roading, but I have the all-terrain tires equipped here because all-terrain tires is the most optimal tires for this route. You can customize the car with a bunch of different options. You know, there's tires that are better for if you're all asphalt or what have you. Pro slick tires for, you know, stunts and tricks, you know, burnouts. Yeah, pretty much this whole track is all shortcuts, like the last one. There's small sections of the intended track that you, that I drive on, but for the most part, on this track, it's all secret routes or alternate routes. That switch there off to the right of me before I hit that jump, that's actually a trap switch. If you hit it, a wall will spawn in front of you. And it's kind of meant just to keep your driving really precise. Here we have a couple sharp and tight turns. This is done on the Nintendo 64, by the way, which I actually normally run on the Dreamcast, this game, but I'm submitting both the Nintendo 64 and the Dreamcast version. They're pretty much identical for the most part, between movement and physics and stuff like that. Obviously, the Dreamcast and Nintendo 64 analog differ. Here I do a pre-turn as well, and I actually clipped that on mistake, but I let go of the gas enough to where my car will settle back down on the asphalt. There's a lot of actually not so many pre-turns in this circuit that I do, but here and there you'll see me, that was actually a mistake, but because my movement is pretty spot on in this game, and I was able to recover without wrecking there. I won't lose too much time. That I hit there is the first time that we've seen it, but that's a boosting track. So essentially, whenever you get on it, it'll increase your speed, dramatically, which will allow you to move a lot faster. It's not quicker to go that way though, because you have to slow down for a couple tight turns. Whereas the route that I take, it's all just a straight shot. Here, I'm gonna clip through this area right here. Go up here. As you saw that train moving up above me there, that particular train I can't hit. But there are other trains throughout this circuit that I will have to avoid or potentially run into if the circumstances are bad. That's a pretty good track. This isn't my fastest run that I have at the moment. It's just my fastest that I happen to have on hand to do for this submission. But my fastest run is actually the world record at the moment, and I don't have it available to do the submission with. But it will be located on my Twitch page, probably, if anybody ever wants to go look at it. Yeah, here, this is the hardest jump in the game, and there was the switch there that I hit pre-hand, made the pyramid rise so that I could squeeze in through there. That jump is extremely hard. It's always a really cool thing when I get it 3 times in a row, but occasionally I'll miss it, maybe once or twice. I'll generally always get it at least once. My consistency is getting a lot better at it though, and I have been getting it 3 out of 3 quite a bit. Obviously I'm going to practice it an extreme amount before the run, if this does get accepted. Here we're taking another little alternate route there. Pretty much this whole track as well is all alternate routes, secret areas. I didn't explain as well, at the very beginning of this track, I did drive through the water, which this is 2049. This is supposed to be a futuristic racer in the Rush series. And I guess in 2049, you're able to drive on water at that point, no matter how deep or shallow. Here I actually missed the jump, but you could see that I was trying to turn, which I completely forgot to mention, but there is the ability to use wings in this run. So the car is equipped with wings, so that you can actually turn the car while you're in the air. You can turn the car so that you can land how you want to land, which is how I did the front flip on the track 1. I should have mentioned this already. But pretty much anytime you see me conform to the track, when I wouldn't previously conform to the track, that's because I quickly pull out my wings and reposition the car so that I can land on the track in a way to where I land and I won't bounce, which will keep optimal movement throughout the run. Because obviously if you bounce, your wheels aren't going to be on the ground, so you won't be able to pick up speed. And generally, anytime when you want to land, you want a smooth, clean landing, so that you could just start moving right as you touch the ground. And there's a perfect example of a bounce, because I didn't get the good lineup on that jump beforehand to land on the asphalt. Yeah, here I wasn't sure if I would make it or not, so you can see I was starting to move myself, because occasionally it'll be a really tight squeeze and I'll have to kind of squeeze in there and then reposition myself so that I'll land on the ground perfect. And it's actually really cool when I do pull that off, that recovery backup strat. And there's actually a new recovery backup strat that I've been working on, to where like in the second lap how I ran into the wall, there's a new strat that I'm working on to where I can kind of kick myself off of the center of that pyramid in a way to where I'll avoid the wall and still clear the landing. And it looks really cool when I pull it off. I've done it a few times now, and I would actually really love to get that if I were to run this in the GDQ. So that's track 3. I'm doing a absolutely terrible job of explaining this so far, but obviously I'm going to practice a lot more. So here we do another flip and then quickly turn off here. This is the beginning of track 4. There, I accidentally clipped that wall there as I was trying to set up this pre-turn for the shortcut area. This track, we're gonna primarily be on the intended route of this track, but occasionally we'll be doing a few shortcuts here and there. Ooh, I wasn't able to position myself properly there in time. Here we're going to be taking a top route. I'm not sure if this is before or after. Let me see. Yes, this is a new route that I just came up with. So we come up here and then do a quick little turn here and into this little subway area or train area. And this saves quite a bit of time over the intended route and another alternate route that I could have taken. But this saves a couple seconds here going through there, and it's really consistent, really safe. For the most part, this whole route is pretty consistent, and the few spots that are dangerous, you generally only lose, only a bare amount of time, somewhere between 6 to 10 seconds. All the heavy areas that I need to hit, I've grinded down so that I hit them consistently and accurate. So there's no real major time loss here, just minor time losses that add up. But for the most part, I'm super consistent at this game, and I don't have too many wrecks, especially in the crucial areas. So here we're doing the clip through again. Slow down here so that we can drop down into here without hitting the top there. This whole game as well, I should mention, but If anybody's ever played the Rush series, it's extremely easy to crash, especially for a casual player. Even the slightest miscalculation, the slightest wrong turn, bad movement. I mean, it's super easy to crash. It doesn't take a lot. There is a reset button in this game. It's where it'll reset you to the track, and I actually use it right here coming up. This is one of the first areas right there. Instead of doing the sharp turn, which takes a long time, I reset and instantly turn. There's almost no way to make that turn and still keep a good amount of speed to where you'd be saving time. Resetting is pretty much the only option for that specific part if you want to keep an optimal time. There, you can see me starting to drift off, but I use my wings really quickly to conform to the track or the high rise. Here, this train, by the way, I forgot to mention, but you can run into this train, and it can actually be positioned in front of. Here goes a car here. I'm about to lap. Occasionally, I will lap a couple cars here and there. There's no rubber band effect in this game. But occasionally, though, the trains, trolleys, here up on my right is a trolley. You can run into them, and they will move throughout the map. But as soon as the map loads in, they always consistently move in the same patterns. So based on how well or poorly that I'm doing on the track, I can predict where the trains and trolleys will be. I've put several hours, days, weeks, months into this game, so I'm fairly consistent on predicting these train movements and trolleys and any other sort of static AI that's in the maps. Here we have track 5, which is actually track 1 reversed in this circuit. So essentially, beginner circuit is 4 tracks. You do the first 4 tracks, and then it repeats the same 4 tracks in reverse, which you can't really tell if you're just watching the game, or if you haven't really played the game as much. They all look like unique tracks, but this is track 1 in reverse here. Which obviously has different routing capabilities than the previous way. All the tracks essentially have they're I believe because I made a mistake in lap 1. I got bad train positioning in lap 2, which isn't a huge time loss or anything, a couple seconds, but obviously, if you're competing for an extremely competitive time, a couple seconds does add up. Here's an area you can actually see that I use in track 1 as well as in the reverse of this map. This map is called Marina, by the way. Every track has a name. Not on the 64 version. On the 64 version, they're actually track 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. But on the other versions, and I should have mentioned this as well, but this is actually an arcade port, this game. So originally it was on the arcade, and then ported off to Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast. And all the tracks have names, which originated from the arcade, and They were ported over to the Dreamcast as their official names, but on the 64 version they just used track 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure why they didn't just use the official track name. And speaking of the arcade port, the arcade did feature all these maps except for a map that won't be seen in this category. Well, a couple maps that will not be seen, but for this particular category, all these maps here were featured in the arcade. And for the most part, they're pretty much the same maps, but there's a couple new areas added on for the console ports, which are pretty neat, because in the arcade, you actually did not have the ability to control the car in the air with the wings. That's a new console-specific ability. Which makes for pretty interesting game mechanics. It is definitely, well, I've always been a huge Rush fan. Rush is obviously a pretty big and well-known series. So of course, I've played Rush 1 and 2 to death, and this is Rush 3, and when this came out, I of course played this as well quite a bit. But the wings was a huge addition that greatly attracted me to this specific game. Growing up, I always loved Rush 1 way more, but in my later years, I can really appreciate this mechanic, and of course all the complexity that comes with it. So this track's pretty straightforward. For the most part, you actually are on the intended route on this track, with the occasional shortcut here and there. Obviously, this is a detour shortcut. These are pretty tight area there, but I luckily get it 3 for 3, I believe, on this specific run. There is an alternate route that you could take in that tunnel, which is doing a loop-de-loop, but I don't believe it's as consistent, so I go through the bottom area there. It's extremely minimal time loss, milliseconds, if that. I believe actually if you have optimal movement, it could even be quicker to go through the bottom than the top. Which at the moment I do hold the world record for this game, and that is with going through the bottom. It's a pretty good lap time, 1:17. It's not the best, but it's pretty good. So here's optimal movement, optimal turning. And then you gotta hit this jump really precise. Pretty much everything in this game has to be done really precise. You gotta hit that jump extremely straight on so that you can land in the tunnel how you want to land in it. It's very easy to, well, I shouldn't say easy, but it is a possibility, to not even make it in the tunnel at all. Here as well, I hit this switch, which opens up this underground area here. And this is an area that can be a little risky, because as you can see that fan is moving there, and you can run into the fan. It is a possibility. There's a few strategies that I have in place to avoid hitting the fan, but nothing's 100%. It can always happen. Which is, obviously you just reset to the track and lose a couple of seconds, but for the most part I'm pretty consistent in that area. Ooh, track 3 reverse, which is also known as track civic. Here we see the fans close up. This is a very crucial spot. That first fan is extremely crucial to make it by hitting that fan will cost 12 seconds per lap, and that adds up an extreme amount. So as long as you get past the first fan, saving time, beautiful. Second fan, even better. Here we'll take another alternate route coming through here, and this is actually a reverse on the hardest jump in the game that I made earlier on the original track 3. Here we hit the switch to raise the pyramid, and down right here. There's a train that runs through that area, but lap 1, as long as you get it consistent, you always pass the train. Here we do some optimal turning so that we can position ourselves to cut into this little secret area here. 112, extremely good lap time for that track. First fan, second fan, all clear. Here we're going to be doing a reset. Instead of taking this long jump, it's actually faster just to reset, which places you pretty much in the same exact position you reset there. Taking the jump, you lose a lot of time as well, somewhere around 10 seconds. Here we make it in here, which is good. And here on the second lap, this was before I discovered a new lap or route change to where you avoid this train, because if you have a flawless track 1 and flawless track 2 up into that point, that train is always going to be there. So now I actually move off over to the right and land in the street instead of up there on that on that side railing. The intended route is actually off to the right on the street, so I just jump on the intended route there instead of trying to save a couple seconds. Ooh. Yeah, as I said, movement is extremely precise in this game. You have to be on point. There, I didn't correct my movement quite quick enough to land that, so I accidentally spun out. And you saw the side effect from that. Now, I have to say that honestly does not happen too often. Spin outs, I don't do them too often, but occasionally they will happen. Luckily I didn't crash there, so I was able to fix myself and actually still save time rather than what I would have if I'd crashed. Yeah, so pretty much a good track 3 reverse, Civic reverse. This is track 7 in the circuit. And then here we're going to take this jump because it's the last lap and we don't have to go into the secret area. Ideally you want to land center on that, because if you explode at the end of a circuit, you actually lose a little time because you need to respawn before the circuit will end. But luckily the game was kind and landed me on my wheels in that spin there. So here we have the 8th and final track in this circuit, and it starts off with a switch loop-de-loo shortcut. Which is why I absolutely love the Rush series, because it's almost nothing but shortcuts. As a casual player going through this game, you see all these different nooks and crannies, and you wonder, I wonder if I could go in there, or, I wonder if I could do that. And watching the speedrun, you get to see all the stuff that you've always wondered about, and it's really cool. I have a lot of people who come to my stream and just, really enjoy seeing the game played at a high level. And there we took an alternate route, and this is the intended track here. Little half pipe action. Here we're going to take a little cut to try and save a little time hitting the grass, and then doing this pre-turn here, which puts us perfectly for that. Here we're going to do another pre-turn, You know, cut a little more time by not going all the way back there. And this map I like to call pre-turn heaven because it's just pre-turn after pre-turn. There's a lot of pre-turns on this map, backwards and forwards. Here it looks like I'm doing a flip just for laughs. You know, throw a little swag in there. That switch is a dedicated switch, so it always stays hit after you initially hit it. Which I should have explained earlier on some of the other dedicated, non-dedicated switches. Some switches, they'll remain on after you hit them, and some will reset per lap. Here, back into the secret area with the park trains. Hit the loop-de-loo and out of the hole in the wall. This flip can be a little dangerous there because you're landing on an incline, but I like to do it anyways. Pre-turn. That pre-turn right there wasn't the best, which actually caused me to spin out here. It could have been a little better. But that really didn't lose much time at all. Maybe a second. 2 at most. Here, this is almost just as quick as taking the wall. Like, it's only milliseconds apart between resetting there and sliding across the wall. Hello, train. Now, it's very important not to ride the tracks up until this part right here, because that train can always activate and run up behind a player. On the last lap, if I'm doing well, I'll generally always throw out a couple flips to end it. You know, end it in style. I'm actually a little surprised I didn't flip there. Sometimes I don't look at my timer, though, in some of my runs. I like to keep it au naturel. Oop, here that pre-turn was a little off, so I accidentally ran in the trolley there. Quick reset, almost no time lost. Anytime when you're turning and you have to reset or something like that, you really don't lose much time because obviously you were already slow to begin with. In some cases, it can even be quicker. And there you have it. That's the beginner's circuit. Just a couple things I suppose I should say is I've been running this game for almost a year now, on and off. I'm very consistent at it. I do enjoy it a lot. I'd really love to see it in GDQ. I think a lot of people, vast majority of gamers do know about the Rush series, especially retro gamers. It's always been a pretty shining gem, and I mean even just people in general, because the arcades were always extremely popular. It definitely has a huge nostalgia to it, and showcasing this Rush 3, I think would be a great experience for GDQ. I suppose that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.